Hey everyone, Clay from Brooklyn, football with the fellas. It is all about Big Blue and it is all about the NFL Combine. It is Combine week and I'm here for it. So I'm recording this on Wednesday night. Technically, the Combine has already started, like the players have arrived, but the actual testing and everything starts tomorrow, Thursday. That's day one of the testing, and that's really what I want to focus on. The position groups that are going to be on the field tomorrow are defensive linemen, linebackers, and the specialists, the kickers and punters. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it right now because I've talked about some of these guys already. I'm just going to show you who I am particularly keeping an eye on, who I have my, uh, interest in, and would love to know what you think. So here's my spreadsheet. If I have their name in blue, it means that I'm at least somewhat interested in them already. Slightly interested is just in blue. Pretty interested is in blue and bold. Very interested is in blue and bold and italics. And a lock is in blue, bold, italics, and all uppercase and underlined. And there's only one player that has that from this group of position groups, and that's Sonny Styles. So looking at the defensive linemen as they're listed in alphabetical order by their last name, a couple of these guys are not really defensive linemen, like David Bailey of Texas Tech. He's not a defensive lineman. He's an outside linebacker. He's an edge rusher. If he wants to go in with the defensive lineman, fine with me, but I am not looking for an edge rusher, to be honest. And I think he'd be a very good edge rusher. And unless we're trading Kayvon Thibodeau, I don't think we need another edge rusher, certainly not early in the draft or in free agency. I like our edge rusher room. It's the only position group that we're deep at, with good quality. Ruben Bain is a true defensive end. At least I think he's going to be a true defensive end. So he's someone I'm very interested in, although, again, not with the fifth overall pick. But if somehow we wind up with him, um, you know, that's a player I'm interested in. Caleb Banks is a defensive tackle from Florida. Up and down, missed a lot of games with injuries, but he's someone I like to keep an eye on. I'd love to see what his numbers are. Let's see how healthy he is, etc. Dante Corleone, same thing. Interior defensive lineman from Cincinnati. We're going to need another defensive tackle. There's no question about it. Uh, Even if we sign Christian Wilkins, which is my wish on my wish list, I still want us to draft another defensive tackle in the second or fourth round. Or if we wind up with a third round pick somehow, then maybe in the third round. Caden Curry is an edge rusher, outside linebacker, defensive end hybrid from Ohio State who just makes plays. He's not the most athletic guy. I am curious what the numbers say, but he is always, in the mix. He finds his way to the ball, and he's someone who a day three flyer would make me happy with him. Zane Durant is an undersized interior defensive lineman who I think is more of a defensive end, but he played defensive tackle at Penn State. Uh, has very good pass rush upside, but is not all that strong and big and sturdy against the run. That's what we need. So again, if he's there in the fifth round, sure, but that's not what we need right away. Keldrick Falk is a beast. You've heard me talk about him before. The man's only 20 years old, and he's like 6'6", 285, and already a very good run stuffing defensive end who, with a little bit of coaching, is going to be, I think, a perennial Pro Bowler. I just see that for him. So I'd be very interested in him. If for some reason Caleb Downs and Mansour Delane are both gone, and Sunny Styles are all gone by the time we pick, which is possible. That could be two, three, four. Then Keldrick Falk would be fine with me at five. Xavier Harris is another run stuffing defensive tackle. Doesn't give you much in the pass rush. Neither does Lee Hunter, but both of them are good run stuffing defensive tackles, like very good run stuffing defensive tackles. And if they're there in the second round, if one of them shows up on our doorstep, I'd be happy to have him. Darrell Jackson is another defensive tackle. I'm not quite as high on him uh, as I am on Xavier Harris and Lee Hunter, but he has flashed. Same thing with Chris McClellan in Missouri. Uh, Misses too many tackles, not a great consistency, but a solid run stuffer if he's there on day three. Akeem Mesidor, he's like 24, 25 years old already, played defensive end for Miami. He's a solid prospect, but I'm not sure I want a 25-year-old rookie, unless he's just, again, such a value because he's there like in the sixth round or something, but he won't be. Christian Miller, very good run stuffing defensive tackle from Georgia. I'd certainly be pleased with him in the second round. You see a lot of names I'm skipping over that, Dominique Orange, LT Overton, TJ Parker. A lot of people are high on them. I'm not as high on them and or think they are more of an edge rusher than an interior defensive lineman, and I want an interior defensive lineman primarily. Even R. Mason Thomas, who has been mocked to us a lot, is really an edge rusher. And again, I'm not looking for an edge rusher. Peter Woods, who had a disappointing year this year, relatively speaking, like everybody was talking about him at the end of last year, like he was going to be a top 10 pick. But he's definitely not that, I don't think, or at least he shouldn't be, based on what he did this year. But I do think he's a very good player that if somehow we trade down and wind up with, like, say, the 25th pick or whatever, and he's still there, sure. I mean, he's definitely a physical beast and has shown a lot in years past, but this year makes me worried because he didn't have that good a year this year. The linebacker is also going to be there. I'm a big fan of CJ Allen. I think he's a very good run support inside linebacker, which is what we need. He's not very good in coverage. He's not terrible in coverage, but he's not very good in coverage. But that's okay. Like if we can get a two down defensive tackle and inside linebacker that can make it 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, that's what I want. I'm fine with that. We haven't had that. So let's get that. Let's stop the run first. Bryce Betcher is not a great athlete. I'm really curious to see just how not great an athlete he is at the combine. But again, always in the right place, short tackling. He's kind of like a Micah McFadden, but I think a better tackling version of Micah McFadden. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in him. Jake Galday is even better than that, and he's actually not that bad an athlete. I'd love to see what his numbers are. Owen Heineke, a little bit of a like a Bryce Betcher light. He's not quite as good, but of that same ilk. Anthony Hill Jr. is a very good prospect. Um, I would say that he is probably right behind CJ Allen as far as I take that back because I just realized that there's a name I didn't get to yet. But Anthony Hill Jr. is certainly on the short list of inside linebackers I'd be interested in. Arvell Reese, I don't think is an inside linebacker. He's an edge rusher primarily who has played inside linebacker a lot also. But he even said today in the interviews that he wants to be considered an edge rusher. At least that's what I read. He said, I didn't hear him say it, but that's what I read that he said. He's an outside linebacker who can play inside if need be. That's the opposite of what we need. So again, if he fell in our lap, I'd take him, but that's not really what we need. Jacob Rodriguez is the name I was looking at. Obviously, Sonny Styles, in my opinion, is the best inside linebacker in this draft and maybe in the last several drafts. But Jacob Rodriguez is a really good inside linebacker. He's just not that fast. And I'm curious, again, what his numbers are. Just how not fast is he? If he's 4.9, then that's a problem. That's a deal breaker. If it's 4.65, though, Jacob Rodriguez is a sure tackling all over the field, just a really good inside linebacker who I'd be happy to have. Jimmy Rolder is another one of those like Owen Heineke, who's probably going to be a special teamer and a day 3 late pick. Um, but again, was always in the mix, was always there making tackles, making plays for Michigan. So that's who I'm looking at linebacker. And then you've heard me say before that my punter crush is Brett Thorson from Georgia. Jack Stonehouse is also a punter. If for some reason Brett Thorson gets drafted before we get to draft him, I would consider Jack Stonehouse. But Brett Thorson is the guy who I'm really hoping we pick with one of those 3 6th-round picks that we have. So that's what I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Those are the people I'll be keeping my eye on. You see, I'm going to be tracking things like their 40 time, their vertical leap, their broad jump, the short shuttle, the bench reps, and anything else that pops. And then I have a column for miscellaneous in case anything else, uh, in case we learn anything else about them that makes me want to take note of that as well. Anyway, Clay from Brooklyn, football with the fellas. It is all about Big Blue, and it is all about the combine this week. And I'd love to know what you think about what I think about these players that are coming up in the combine day 1, defensive linemen, linebackers, and kickers. All right. Talk to you soon. Peace.